BluntCut MetalWorks, November 11, 2021. My research will translate from crystal, metal structure, into, apply into knife edge tool. So I make this quick document here as what high performance versatile knife should be. And so basically the function of an edge is to cut one way or the other. You want to cut, but you want to be versatile because it will support a wide range of tasks. You would cut food, roll paper, cardboard, surgery, and wood or leather, etc. Right? And so, and also they have good corrosion resistance, because corrosion also would degrade the function of the keen edge. So you want it good, for most environment. And so of course now you need the foam, so that something that you can actually hold on to. But of course that means good for fire. That means the cut, the angle, and the penetration, and the steering. Excuse me. And so you have the blade, and then you have edge geometry, and of course ergonomic. Of course you want the handle and the thing. And now, in terms of the cut, the cut surface, in terms of separated, what you cut through, right? And consider if you want something that you cut, whether the surface is rough or fine. So if you do surgery, you want a fine cut, right? Or you want to cut apple, fruit, and a lot of basically food or many other things, or even paper. You want to be smooth cut. While if you want, versus if you cut rope, you can cut it rough cut, or you can cut it fine or smooth. Doesn't matter. So therefore, if the versatility between plain edge and serrated edge, basically, if you want to saw something, then the teeth of the edge, you can actually see it basically that way. Delineated there. And anyway, but however, if you're going to cut in the watermelon, well, it's going to oxidize, or bleed. Or worse, will be bruised. So really sharp serrated edge knife, the best you can do, it's still going to bleed. That means the surface of the watermelon is going to have water coming out. But if you have really sharp plain edge and thin, you cut it and you leave it. 10 minutes later, the surface is still a seal, and it doesn't drip water, and not only the food preserve longer. If you cut vegetable, if you have bruised surface or rough surface, then you can say, well, it can absorb more flavor, or you can say it absorbs more oil. Everywhere it's cooked with oil base. You stir fry or something, right? So how long the material you cut preserve, instead of, if you want it to be intact, then you want a really sharp plain edge. Anyway, so the plain edge would be more versatile compared to serrated edge. And of course, plain edge easier to sharpen. And so, of course, have to be energy efficient. If you have to wedge to something really difficult to cut, right? Then have a lot of effort, then too much work. And if you repeat it all the time, then it's not good, of course. And of course, you want to see it. You don't want wedging, but you want to be able to cut, fine cut, and all like that, right? But you have to be very efficient at what it does. And then, of course, you want to be, use maintenance here, high ratio here. You're going to use a long time, basically. Everybody wants that. And you don't want to spend all the time sharpening or touch up and all like that. And of course, depend on how keen you want the edge. If you super fine edge, talking about when we go into surgical or with more like a scalpel or something, sharp, then of course, if you touch something hard, then of course you'll lose that very super keen submicron, or say 200 nanometer or something. Then it will degrade that, but then you have to touch that up. Depend on the function the task you want to do. Okay? Anyway, so you want long active retention and low care time, maintenance time. And that basically, going to be the socket here. And anyway, so in all this time, I'm doing research. Anyway, so this is the knife, I think, the steel. My sequence is the S125V, a 67.5 Rockwell, and the geometry wise, in terms of for the function of the blade, this thing is just a hybrid, little short knife. It have a little flat and then the curve, so they get a belly, and so it can be. This is a small knife, so it's for as a hunter, as a little kitchen knife if you want, or cutting fruit and cutting rope, cutting thing. But this one sharpened wood and edge pro at 15 degrees precise. It's 15. It can go support to be 12, but however 15, because again the key is versatility here. So and it's pretty good in terms of not too wedgy, stiff enough, okay? And distal taper, so that you have 5 edge to do something, to dig something into things. But of course, this definitely doesn't support prying too much, unless you pry something simple, but like that. Anyway, so and the finished grit is just 400 grit diamond stone. So the edge itself, it's and of course, it's okay, 400 grit, right? But it's here the one book paper, right? It's if you shave it uncomfortable, yes, it will cut hair. Shave hair, right? Anyway, so with that, so this is the can it support wide range? Of course, you cut soft food, and so this the thing I'm going to do here is bone contact, right? So my hand was actually clean before this. So this is actually, I don't want to waste food here, but I'm going to just cut, this is beef, rib, and if it was bone contact, that means if I were doing boning, right? Well, the reason that bone contact, thing like that, of course, and also what butcher don't you serrated knife, for example, otherwise you bruise the meat and it won't keep long. Okay? Anyway, so far, I don't want to get a sliver of bone in here either, but basically what's doing here is actually I purposely cut into the bone a little bit. Okay? You can hear that. I've yet to do this for fun because again it's not it's if you are dressing an animal, you are hunting, and you want to smartly go to the joint here, right? So separate out, and of course, along the way you bone contact, right? And I'm going to purposely cut some bone, into the bone, like that. This is, really hard. Anyway, so bone contact, right? I'm going to put this away and cover it up. And of course we'll cook the the rib later. Once in a while I don't cook this kind of meat all the time, but once in a while I'm going to anyway, so that basically is okay. Can I have an edge here is versatile enough that I can actually have that bone contact like that. I will skip the soft stuff like cutting food and everything else, right? And so now I'm going to, say this is Argentine Lictum Vitae, right? And so, usually if something is not supported, it would die the first 1 or 2 cut. Bamboo, you don't have to repeat, I don't have to repeat a whole lot. And this is elk antler tip, right? if it died, it's already dead anyway. So, and some rope. Little rope. Little. And I just got some big rope. Now, I mean, if the edge doesn't cut well, I mean, it will be metallic anyway. So, the idea is, well, that went good, and went well, I say. And go back to, let me clean up the edge real quick. And, well, again, this edge, I mean, I already let it face pretty hard test. And what is the cut this thing? It pass or fail? Okay. So, because this steel have, I mean, pretty much have one of the top field, maybe top 5 steel have the highest carbide volume. And it's still, I mean, well, if you say, can it be tough enough? Yes, it accomplished the task and do all that. That means it's strong enough. It doesn't, I mean, it resists to, from deflection, because 15 degrees per side, it doesn't deflect. And but again, the very sharp edge, the very protruding carbide, it have to be strong enough, embedded in there, so that it doesn't wobble or being deflected. But however, they can support a little bit. You can deflect, so therefore it flex away, but then it's straight again. So you have elasticity have to be there, and also they can have some of the, if the damage, some, I mean, the carbide might come up. You don't want a big chunk of that come up with it. That means, okay, I mean, resistant to, say, big versatile chipping. But however, if the only thing is, when the carbide have been deflect so far, and then they go into, and they will kind of fall off. But again, I mean, if that any of those things, then you have the edge wouldn't sound this smooth after, especially the inlet tips here. It's really crazy. It's hard like the femur bone of the cow and something like that. So, but again, because of your scooping. Anyway, in terms of this edge will cut a long time, and of course I didn't have to touch this up. And so, what task be? I mean, if it were cutting rope or you cut and doing wood wise, of course, again, this is the only thing that, because the fine tip, it's for to go through things, right? I mean, I don't want that tip to be thick. Then you lost the ability to do fine cut, really precision point work, right? But of course, prying, thicker stuff anyway. And so now, on top of, again, I mean, this is the geometry all depend on the width and the thick wise. The thinner, I mean, the narrower, the more you can, easier to navigate or steering. And so, or change direction. But if you have a really wide one, then it would be a lot harder to, if I would have to play something thicker like this, then, I would have harder to steer, right? And the tip, this way here, so for example, the tip will be a little thin here, so I can actually navigate, I'm steering with it, change the direction with it here. But if you go into this thing here, you want straight cut. And this didn't show the corrosion resistance, but again, this thing have the corrosion is two aspects: how much free chromium still in the in the matrix here in solution instead of stuck forming the carbide, but that is about somewhere close to 14%. So say 13, still very high. Also, how fine the microstructure, because what explosion free iron or say ferrite, and also, but when if the any say the surface, the rougher the surface, the more it exposed to oxygen. And so even though this is 120 grit, but they have, because of really hard steel, the surface fairly fine, still equal to maybe 200 grit. It's not that great, but again, unless I use diamond belt or something, but I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so corrosion resistant is a combination between free chromium and also how fine the microstructure is. Just like between sand and rock, lumpy. Anyway, so the one, it got oxidation layer, the passivate. That means it got one, you make a crust, thin layer film over. Then now you have some, it's opaque now. It no longer have permeability. It's lower now. So therefore less oxygen to interact with the metal. Expansionally, iron, worst form is iron that not in not use the word bond, is incorrect. But anyway, already have the relationship with the other atom or a molecule already. So those kind of explosion ion there with the electron can easily exchange or bind with something out there, like say oxygen. Then you have corrosion resistant. Corrosion. Anyway, so yeah. On top of I did cook here and high efficiency. That means you can see the way that they cut through the 1-inch rope is fairly easily. Anyway, so ergonomic, I think it's good, nice enough, and with this is iron wood, and so of course you want to this thing with the epoxy. In terms of it will be able to withstand weathering and things like that. So of course but we focus on based on the edge, but also of course as soon as the handle disintegrate, then of course you lost ergonomic because you have to be able to support, right? And if you were going to have in terms that you have something that you use to say warn off mangy bear, not grizzly or something, then you can still able to support something like that too. Right? But of course, that ridiculous scenario. What I'm saying is, a versatile knife. Yeah. Oh yeah. Funny about the bear. Yeah, sure I can break the tip, but hey, if that tip lodging somewhere in there, not bad of a trade-off. All right. Thanks for watching.